Now the latest from ITV News in the Channel Islands with Clare Burton and Richard Pallot.
Hello, welcome to ITV News.
The headlines on Channel this evening. A man is questioned by detectives tonight after a woman was repeatedly stabbed in Jersey.
A pilot faces court after the fatal plane crash off Guernsey, in which an international footballer died.
Plus why Guernsey isn't so green. The island's environmental experts sound the alarm.
Going forward, there needs to be more protection of green spaces and more balanced planning of how we manage the land in Guernsey.
And Jersey's most famous fictional detective is brought to life with a very special stamp of approval. But have they got one of the island's landmarks the wrong way round? Hello, good evening. A man's being questioned by detectives in Jersey tonight on suspicion of attempted murder after a woman suffered multiple stab wounds in an attack at St Helier property. She's being treated in hospital for her injuries.
Police say a 48-year-old man was tasered twice before he was arrested at the scene of the incident. It's understood that the suspect being held and the victim of the attack are known to each other. Our reporter Holly has the latest on the police investigation.
It was here at a private address on Valley Road in St Helier that a woman nearly lost her life.
Police were called about 4 yesterday afternoon and found a woman in her 40s with multiple stab wounds. Authorised firearms officers attended the scene and arrested a 48-year-old man. During his arrest, he was tasered twice for not complying with orders from officers. Well, police say the man and the woman were known to each other and they're not looking for anyone else in connection with the stabbing.
They are, however, appealing to anyone with information or who was in the area at the time to contact them on 612 612. Police said they had no further update to give today, but the woman is still receiving treatment in hospital. Meanwhile, the man remains in custody on suspicion of attempted murder. Holly Goodall, ITV News.
Jersey police say a serving officer arrested on suspicion of a serious sexual assault was fully vetted before they employed him. The 48-year-old was off duty at the time of the incident, which allegedly happened last Saturday. He's been suspended from duty and released on bail.
Fresh talks have taken place today between Jersey and France to try to resolve the continuing row over fishing rights. Jersey's External Relations Minister, Senator Ian Gorst, met with the French Maritime Minister in Paris with a focus on what are described as resetting relations over the dispute. More talks are planned for tomorrow.
Guernsey's politicians have voted to write off Aurigny's debt. The airline lost more than £20 million last year when overseas travel was heavily restricted by the pandemic. It hopes to start making a profit again by 2023.
And Condor's Voyager sailing from Jersey to Poole was cancelled today after it broke down in St Helier harbour. Passengers had to get off the ship before it had even sailed because of an issue with the fuel pump. The Liberation services on Wednesday and on Thursday have also been rescheduled because of a poor weather forecast.
Next tonight, a pilot has pleaded guilty to one charge relating to the flight in which Cardiff City footballer Emiliano Sala died 2.5 years ago. The aircraft crashed into the English Channel near Guernsey in 2019, though David Henderson wasn't flying the plane.
It was his friend David Ibbotson at the controls when it plunged into the sea. Mr Henderson denies a separate charge of endangering the safety of the plane. Our reporter Mike Griffiths was in Cardiff Crown Court for the start of proceedings today.
Well, the allegations being examined in this court relate to a flight that took place back in January 2019. The footballer Emiliano Sala was being flown in a single-engine plane from his old club at Nantes in France to the UK, where he'd signed a multi-million-pound deal with Cardiff City FC. But the plane carrying Mr Sala and his pilot crashed off the coast of Guernsey. The wreckage and Mr Sala's body were found a month later, but that of David Ibbotson, the pilot, was never found. Now, David Henderson, who's 67 and from East Riding in Yorkshire, faced 2 charges brought against him by the Civil Aviation Authority. Today in Cardiff, he pleaded guilty to one of those, that of attempting to discharge a passenger without authorisation. But he denies a second charge, that of acting in a reckless or negligent manner likely to endanger a plane, and will now go on trial. Today in Cardiff, the jury was selected before being sent home for the day. The judge, Mr Justice Foxton, said the trial is expected to last around 10 days. David Henderson denies the charge against him. The trial is expected to continue tomorrow. Mike Griffiths, ITV News at Cardiff Crown Court.
OK, moving on to more of the day's news now, starting with the latest COVID cases across the Channel Islands. In Jersey, since Friday, there have been 92 new cases identified and 57 people have recovered. And that means there are now 270 known active cases, and 4 of those are in hospital. In Guernsey, 60 new cases have been identified, 27 recoveries. There are 191 active cases, and none of them are in the hospital.
Plans have been submitted for a new firearms range to help train armed police officers. The Justice and Home Affairs Department want the 50-metre range built at Crabbe. It's hoped it will reduce the amount of time officers have to spend off the island and will also benefit the island's shooting community.
Actors from Music Theatre Guernsey are performing in the island's German underground hospital this week. The show runs until Saturday and it's described as a romantic horror novel which has been adapted for the stage. It's the first production to be held there since the site was refurbished over the summer.
And the Jersey Cancer Charity now has its own allotment so patients can enjoy growing their own fruit and veg. Macmillan hopes the outdoor space in St Clement will support their well-being and give them somewhere peaceful to spend time with their loved ones. The produce will be sold from the charity's book cafe in St Helier.
Next, a stark warning that Guernsey has lost nearly 2/3 of its natural habitats in the last 2 decades. Experts say that it's already posing a direct threat to the island's wildlife.
Yes, figures seen by ITV Channel reveal a huge decline in the amount of green spaces in the bailiwick. And now campaigners are calling on the government to do much more to protect the environment. Louisa Burton has more on this story.
The amount of rich natural green space in Guernsey has plummeted over the last 20 years. And that, according to conservationists, is worrying news for the island's wildlife and biodiversity.
It provides us with, all the things that we need. We need clean air, we need clean water, but also for our mental health and well-being. And it's really sad to think that we are losing our environment and our biodiversity. There's not as many birds as there were, so the bird song isn't as rich. And, just our whole, how we live on Guernsey, I think will decline if we lose our biodiversity.
The latest figures from Guernsey's Habitat Survey show that between 1999 and 2018, areas classed as natural habitats on the island have decreased by 63%, from 588 hectares to just 216. That includes grassland, dunes and coastal heathland, which are the places where wildlife thrives the most. And these are statistics the state should take more notice of, according to campaigners, especially when it comes to plans to further develop and build on the island.
The states are taking too long to act on environmental matters, and I think they need to start taking the data a little bit more seriously and the environmental degradation into consideration. The data is already out of date and it's still reducing the natural habitat loss. So going forward, there needs to be more protection of green spaces and more balanced planning of how we manage the land in Guernsey.
According to the Habitat Survey, these types of rich landscapes harbour far more species and are far more biodiverse than, say, parks and people's gardens. But while man-made areas are on the up, these types of spaces are more and more rare. But it's a difficult balance to play when politicians are also under pressure to solve Guernsey's current housing crisis.
I think it's really important that we work with nature and not against it. And I think ultimately it comes down to efficiency. And if we can use our the land area that we've got available to us, which is a very valuable commodity being a small island, if we can use it cleverly, if we can use it efficiently, then we can improve nature and improve the quality of life as well.
Although the next survey won't be published for another 5 years, there's fears the island's still a long way off reversing the trend. Louisa Burton, ITV News.
Quite a sobering warning, that, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're watching ITV News on Channel Television this Monday evening.
Yes, good to have you with us as always. Still to come, Keelan will be here with all of the island's sporting news, including all the action from Herm's largest sports event of the year, as the Channel Islands' best darts players go head to head.
And I'm standing on the Oki, ready to bring you your forecast, and you never know, we may even get a treble 7 with regards to temperatures over the next few days, so do stay tuned.
I've worked out what she means by treble 7.
It's not going to be 7 degrees then?
Not one in each island, no. 21 degrees, I reckon.
OK, that's not bad. Good maths.
We're hoping. We'll move on to something else now. And a charity in Jersey is helping women work through their experiences of coercive and controlling behaviour by creating some art.
Yes, their work has now gone on display in Liberty Wharf to coincide with an island-wide campaign to tackle domestic abuse. Well, our reporter Caroline Lewis is there for us now. And Caroline, it sounds like a really unique exhibition.
Well, this may be a small space, but it certainly packs a mighty message. The artwork here has been created by a collaboration of domestic abuse survivors, and it really illustrates their personal experiences and how they view their journey. But to talk me through the concept a little bit more, I'm joined by the creative director, Kathy Sarah. Now, Kathy, what did you want to achieve with this exhibition?
Well, at Kairos Arts, we believe that the arts help us to express the inexpressible. And so we run therapeutic creative arts programmes for people affected by domestic abuse. And this year, when we heard that the theme was coercive control, we invited a group of past participants to consider what might it look like to create an art installation that was seen. So often in our workshops, everything is kept private and nobody would see what was made. But in this case, it was what would it look like to express that and share that and try and explain the story of their experiences of coercive, controlling behaviour.
So talk me through the journey of this artwork.
Yeah, it is an amazing journey. So it starts in a very dark and turbulent place, a place of chaos. The red shows the violence, a place where you feel trapped. The lobster pots and the ropes and the chains. There's even netting and shackles, which makes you feel that sense in which you could become trapped within it and find it very difficult to break out of it. We have a rudder and a propeller, and these are trying to suggest that it is very hard to know who is in control, and you can feel that somebody else is controlling the relationship. So then from that point, the second part of the installation, you come upon a lighthouse, and all those who participated wanted this to represent symbolically a place of hope, a place of change, a place of transformation, when an agency or someone in their lives helped them find that there was a different direction and a way out. And then the last section brings us to a place of peace and serenity, a place where there is calm after the storm, a place of specialness and ordinariness, but also treats. So the women loved creating this journey for this week.
What's the public reaction been like?
Very, very powerful in this space today. For some, it brought back memories. For others, it was just a very emotional response, because I think art can do that. It can take us into a story in a way that perhaps words don't. And so they have been really taken by it, really stunned by it, and some have been lost for words.
And so what do you hope very quickly the public get out of this?
That it will raise awareness about coercive control and about domestic abuse. It affects 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men.
Kathy, thank you ever so much. Well, the exhibition is free to attend. It'll be here till Friday. There's plenty more to see, and there's even ways that you can support women both here and around the world.
OK, Caroline, thank you.
Right, coming up in 15 minutes is the ITV Evening News with all your headlines. Here is Charlene White.
Coming up, tributes to the MP stabbed at his constituency surgery. Sir David Amos's family visited the church where he was killed, while MPs and Parliament fell silent before sharing emotional memories. Also ahead, England ordered to play a game behind closed doors after violence at the Euros final. And how the Netflix and chill generation are picking names for their kids. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Much more back here first though, and as promised, it's time for sport. And as the T20 World Cup gets underway in the United Arab Emirates, Jersey's cricketers have moved a step closer to qualifying for next year's event.
Yes, the Islanders have won their first 3 games in the European qualifiers to put them on the brink of reaching the next round. For all of this, it's Keelan Webster for us. Now, Jersey have been so impressive. How much of a surprise is it they've beaten the likes of Denmark, Germany and Italy?
Yeah, I think somewhat of a surprise in the sense that they have won all 3 of those games, but we know that they are a strong side, and perhaps we shouldn't be so surprised as to how well they have played, particularly in the bowling department, as you'll see shortly. And they are now in a great position to reach the global qualifiers. They could qualify for that as soon as tomorrow, and it's there that once you reach that level, you have the opportunity to then reach the Holy Grail, which is, of course, the World Cup.
And they're really turning up the heat here.
DHS, proud sponsors of ITV Channel Sport.
Well, plenty more sport coming your way, including a dramatic finish at Foots Lane and Herm's biggest sporting event of the year. But firstly, let's look back at a brilliant weekend for Jersey's cricketers.
3 games, 3 wins, 3 star performers. T20 cricket can often be won courtesy of one man's brilliance, and against the much fancied Italians, step forward Ben Ward. With 139 to defend, Ward helped Jersey spin to win. 2 of his deliveries pinned back the pegs. After the Euros and Eurovision, this was one European contest the Italians didn't win. On Sunday, the Great Danes lived up to their name, bowling Jersey out for a measly 94. But the Islanders just don't know when they're beaten. This time the skipper stood up, firstly with a remarkable catch.
What I was talking about, and that's a chance for a catch, and it's taken!
And then with a barely believable final over. With Denmark needing 6 to win, Pershard didn't concede a run and took the final 2 wickets. Delight for Jersey in Spain. A win against Germany tomorrow, coupled with defeat for Italy, and Jersey will be one step closer to the World Cup.
Now we'll bring you news of how Jersey get on in their next game tomorrow. There was more reason for Jersey's sports stars to celebrate at the weekend because the first athletes representing the island at next year's Commonwealth Games were announced. The list includes the likes of swimmer Gemma Athley, triathlete Ollie Turner and discus siblings Zayn and Shadeen Dukman. The full list of 16 spanning 6 sports is available on our website.
To be picked in the first round this time is really just something special, I think. I missed a semi-final last year by a very small margin, so I think for me the goal is to make a semi-final this time and hopefully PBs.
I've known them for quite a long time, so very excited. So we were messaging each other and we were like, yeah, it's sort of finally been announced, and they're very happy.
There were mixed fortunes for the island's football sides on Saturday. A 3-0 win for Jersey Bulls, but a 3-0 defeat for Guernsey FC. As for Guernsey Raiders, well, they left it until the 5th minute of stoppage time to maintain their winning run. They trailed 13-0 at one point and were 16-14 behind when they won this late penalty. You could hear a pin drop at Foots Lane just before Dan Rice stepped up to win the game for Raiders by a single point. That's now 6 wins in a row. They're up to 3rd.
Almost lost for words to a certain extent. I was a little bit nervous at points, but yeah, I mean, credit to the boys. We came back through a whole team effort, and I just was able to put the icing on the cake there with the kick. But you know, it was all of the other boys that did the hard work up until that point, and you know, it was just me putting the ball through the sticks, doing the easier part.
Now, Herm is probably better known for its peaceful tranquility and beaches rather than its big sporting events. However, at the weekend it held one of the most popular darts tournaments in the Channel Islands. So I popped over to see what it's all about.
With a picture-perfect location, it's no surprise the Herm Darts Open attracts so many arrow enthusiasts. We caught up with 4 players from 4 islands, all united by their love for darting drama. I know what you're thinking, and I also don't know how the wonky donkey goes. Fletcher's darts are far from wonky though, and he's got his eyes firmly on the prize.
definitely the top tournament, definitely. I mean, we've got £600 for one event and then £600 for another event for the winners. All prize money breaks down as well, so if you get in the last 8, you're still in the prize money.
Dave Young, or as he's affectionately known, Big Dave, forms part of Alderney's darting dating duo alongside wife Helen.
Helen's in a women's league and Alderney, I'm in a men's league. So yeah, we've played for about 20 years.
I haven't won yet. I've won a leg, so I'm quite proud of that.
The Demon lives up to his ferocious nickname by walking onto Pharrell Happy. He's made the trip from the UK and, in fairness, is genuinely very happy to be here.
It's idyllic. You couldn't ask for a better place than this. The weather's lovely, the island is beautiful, the people are just wonderful. Every single person I've met, be it from Guernsey, Jersey or Alderney, lovely people.
The Islander has travelled from near neighbours Jersey, where the darts scene is struggling to find a finish.
The Jersey one's sadly fallen through lack of attendees and sponsorship, really. It's all it boils down to. The Guernsey people get behind everything that's done for them, and sadly the Jersey people don't do as much. I'd like to see more done, I really would.
Here in Herne, though, no such issues. Around 70 players this year, but with its growth in popularity, don't bet against them scoring a ton in 2022.
Well, just a final one from me. A familiar face will be returning to Jersey when the England rugby team visit at the end of this month. Congratulations to former Jersey Reds loanee Nick Dolly, who today received his first call-up for Eddie Jones' side.
Keelan, thanks very much for all of that.
Now, it is 40 years today that the first episode of Bergerac was broadcast. The detective drama, of course, beamed images of Jersey into living rooms around the UK, indeed around the world, for the following decade.
Yes, as well as a massive boost for tourism. There you go. It was also a chance for locally based TV crews to work on a network programme. And for Islanders to get their faces on the telly up at the airport, you can see back there in the 80s, brings back some memories as producers used loads of local extras to create the crowd outside the airport, for example, or to populate the bar scenes at Diamond Lil's or the Royal Barge, which we probably know better as the old courthouse down St Open.
Hasn't changed a bit. To mark the anniversary, Jersey Post has released a set of commemorative stamps featuring publicity shots from the show. Let's just take a look at those stamps there, and they are very much, as you can see, of their time.
Yeah, one of the most iconic images there was Jim Bergerac's car, of course, that 1959 Triumph Roadster. It was actually on display in Jersey Museum a few years ago for fans to see up close. The main problem with the car being, and I remember this distinctly, talking to my great aunt about this, they'd chase a criminal through the tunnel and you'd either end up where the police headquarters are now or the harbour, and before you knew it they'd appear like at St One or
Trinity.
Or Trinity. It was not very, very funny if you're living here.
Yeah. Bit of artistic licence, I think that's fair enough. This stamp's a bit out of place for 2021, isn't it? You wouldn't really see someone smoking a fat cigar on a stamp these days. It was, of course, though, a key part of the character for local rogue Charlie Hungerford.
And wearing a double-breasted suit on St Albans. And Jim didn't just get around on 4 wheels. Here he is on a horse, looking very manly. Of course, not wearing a riding hat. I don't think he'd get away with that in the 80s.
No health and safety there.
But there is something else about this image. If you look closely, of course, there's Montorgueil Castle in the backdrop. He's astride the horse on what's roughly Long Beach, but I think the image has been flipped because that looks like that's on the west coast of the island, not the east. I'm told, though, it's not Jersey Post fault. They've got the images from the original kind of stamps from Bergerac, basically, so they just reincorporated them.
So it's the publicity department, whoever first
It is not
did
Jersey Post fault.
Absolutely. It'll raise a smile, I'm sure.
Don't ring them. Well, the weather looks far more appealing on those stamps than it's been here today. How's it looking for the rest of the week? Here's Sophie.
Making the most of the day. ITV Channel Islands weather. Sponsored by Shaw. Mobile, broadband and home phone.
Well, it has certainly been a bit of a disappointing start to the week. Not much in the way of sunshine today, and we're going to continue to see some wet weather, some strong winds moving throughout the course of the week. There will be a little bit of sunshine here and there. It's not until Friday, though. Hopefully we'll see the return of slightly calmer conditions, but a big heads up because actually it will feel quite a bit fresher. And I say that because today we've seen highs of around 18 degrees, and tonight with that cloud cover and the visibility dropping, we're likely to see temperatures fall no lower than 15 or 16 degrees, so quite a close night to come. And with all the moisture in the air, there's likely to be some poor visibility by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. The winds are coming in from the south. Now, earlier today, Jersey Met issued a yellow warning for a force 6, but they actually then upped it this evening to a force 7 potentially. That's more to the northwest of the area, so not so much on land, but it will still be pretty breezy, both later on this evening and into tomorrow morning. As for tomorrow, an improving picture, some good sunny periods developing, still this fairly stiff breeze coming in from the south, but temperatures climbing a little bit higher than today, in fact well above where they should be. We're looking at potentially highs of 21 degrees. So a pretty muggy day to come yet again tomorrow. On the water, sea state remains slight to moderate. Those of you heading down to the beach, times of high water tomorrow morning around about 6:30 through to 7:20. Sea temperatures still hovering around 16.5 degrees. So pretty unsettled throughout the course of the week. There'll be a mixture of sunshine and showers, certainly through to Friday when we start to see that improving picture. But just note that temperature difference, 21 degrees possibly tomorrow, falling away to 15 by Friday.
ITV Channel Islands weather, sponsored by Shaw.
21 degrees, not bad at all.
Treble 7.
Exactly, Sophie got it right. That is the news and weather in the Channel Islands. I'll be back with an update for you at about 10:30.
We'll leave you tonight with pictures, though, from the weekend's festival at Hampton in Jersey, celebrating the island's rich history of course, cider production. From all of us here, though, have a very good evening.
Bye-bye.